shooting stars across the sky. This magical journey will take us on a ride, filled with the longing, searching for the truth. Will we make it till tomorrow? Will the sun shine on you? Midnight in the desert, and we're listening. Ooh, we're listening to you.
Good morning. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. And this music, this is Crystal Gale's Midnight in the Desert. And we lost a broadcasting giant over the weekend. That's Art Bell. And of course, his show was played on KCAA. And our station owner, Fred Lundgren, is a fan. And he's written a statement. And I'd like to read that to you. First of all, my sincere condolences to Art Bell's family and his many friends and fellow fans. Art did not want his personal vision of paranormal late-night radio to end with his 20-year-old reruns. That's why he chose his former producer, Heather Wade, to host Midnight in the Desert in December of 2015. KCAA was one of the few stations that carried Art's final return from retirement, and since then carried Midnight in the Desert live from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Pacific Time, hosted by Heather Wade. Needless to say, Heather is no Art Bell, but neither is George Norrie, and my appraisal does not diminish either of them, because there will never be another Art Bell, the man who perfected the theater of the mind. He will forever remain the gold standard of late-night radio. Recently, Heather Wade announced she was organizing an invasion trespass of Area 51 with Art's blessing. In fact, Art had offered to host the show on the night of the invasion, which is planned for June. The risk involves going far beyond anything attempted by Alex Jones, who exposed Bohemian Grove and the annual Bilderberg conferences. At best, Heather and her followers will be arrested, and at worst, unthinkable things could happen, and that's about how the government responds. With Art Bell's blessing, Heather Wade made plans to take... Excuse me? Forgive me. I had to restart the music here. I hope and pray. With Art Bell's blessing, Heather Wade made plans to take disclosure to a totally different level. Unfortunately, by doing so, she will put her own safety and the safety of others on the line. I hope and pray that the government uses restraints, because this could end badly. It's one hell of a risk to take. Heather Wade is a strong Trump supporter, and she may be counting on his protection. Trump could add millions of people to his base on the following tweet: I know all about Area 51. Nobody knows more about Area 51 than me. I've instructed Homeland Security to let them in and show them everything. Trump is so unpredictable that it could happen. On the other hand, do you find it curious that Art Bell unexpectedly died in his sleep while helping Heather prepare for the event? Just saying. My message to other station managers and owners is simple. It's time to give the lady a chance. That's the way Art wanted it. And that's from Fred Lundgren, station owner of KCAA. So if you've never listened to the show, it's very interesting. It's certainly not like anything you're going to hear on the air.
Yeah, I honestly can't say that I've listened to Art Bell, but I've heard his name out there forever, and I was aware of what the show was about, and it's fascinating, right? I mean, I like to make jokes about that kind of stuff, but there are questions.
Sure. I mean, do I believe that our government's always told us the truth about everything? Of course not. That would be dumb.
Yeah.
But do I don't know. The reality is that I don't know. Well, and I have to say that I do believe in UFOs, but as a Christian, I don't believe that I believe that there's something different than what the UFO crowd believes them to be.
Yeah.
I believe that they're demons.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
Fallen angels. So, but we won't know until all of a sudden we do know.
Scary.
I know.
Well, I guess Art is on his journey of discovery now.
He is. He's on his journey of discovery. So, Now, did you hear about this gay rights lawyer who engaged in self-immolation?
No, that's kind of extreme.
Yeah, he did. Well, but he's a gay rights lawyer, but he did it for climate change because he wants to draw people's. Why are you laughing?
He set himself on fire for climate change. Doesn't that sound a little odd?
Yes, it does.
The world's getting too hot. I'm going to burn myself up.
So a lawyer known for, but climate change is not just, it's getting too hot, right? I mean, so it's also any change in the climate is now called climate change.
Yes.
And are we going through a period of change? Yes. I mean, I don't want to deny that. Yes, we are, as there have been many over the course of history.
Yes.
A lawyer known for advancing the cause of gay rights self-immolated in a New York City park early Saturday. This is according to the New York Times, but did so to advance the cause of the environment. David Buckle, who was 60, was one of the architects of the Freedom to Marry and marriage equality movements as a former colleague at Lambda Legal. He was the lead counsel in Brandon v. County of Richardson, in which he successfully sought to hold accountable a Nebraska sheriff for failing to protect a transgender man. Hilary Swank won an Oscar for portraying that man in Boys Don't Cry. But honorable purpose in life invites honorable purpose in death, Buckle wrote in an email to the Times. But of late, it was environmental causes that captured his passion because he sought to draw attention to what he sought to draw attention to with his dramatic suicide. Pollution ravages our planet, oozing inhabitability. There you go. Inhabitability via air, soil, water, and weather. Most humans on the planet now breathe air made unhealthy by fossil fuels, and many die early deaths as a result. My early death by fossil fuel reflects what we are doing to ourselves. In normally vibrant Prospect Park, where Buckle ended his life, police and firefighters gathered around what the Times called a grim scene. Ooh, I imagine. Everyone looked dumbfounded, said one witness. No one could believe it.
Wow. It's interesting. I didn't hear about this story, and I'm certain he probably had somebody there videotaping it, right? Because it's the imagery of this. It's designed to, pardon the pun, inflame people.
Yes. Would you stop? This man died.
He set himself on fire for climate change. I'm sorry. I have a lot of issues that I feel passionately about, but setting myself on fire for one of them is so far out of the realm of normalcy, and I'm sorry, I can't help but think the guy had some sort of mental illness. Just normal people don't do that. But
what he's feeling, he feels so intensely about it, and he feels like he's being ignored, and he feels like nobody's listening, and it's going to be catastrophic, and oh my goodness.
But this is a guy who is a lawyer, highly educated, highly trained, who's actually obviously made an impact already in the gay rights movement. He has to know that there are other ways that he can make a significant contribution on these issues besides setting himself on fire. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
I wonder if in that minute right after he lit that match, if he regretted what he did. Of course, we'll never know. But you've seen videos of people who have jumped from like the Golden Gate Bridge, and the instant that they jump, they regret what they've done.
Yeah.
The ones who actually survive. Obviously, the ones who die, we will never know.
Yeah.
I agree that there are more productive ways to make your point. And I also think that what's striking to me is that we've made progress. I mean, as far as being, choked by, in this country, choked by pollution. Yeah. It was far worse when we were kids, in the 70s than it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, LA was just, it was like an ashtray. It was just awful. And, you're standing in San Bernardino and you can't see the mountains that are literally right there. That's the way it was back then. It's not that way anymore.
Exactly.
And our fuel standards have gotten better, and people are starting to drive more electric and hybrid vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, and I don't mean to diminish this man's intensity of feelings and any of that. I just personally don't get it. I just think there are better ways of making your point, and this strikes me as a form of mental illness, and or perhaps the guy found out he had some terminal disease. I don't know, but just the idea that someone would do this, it just,
Yeah, it boggles the mind.
Yeah, and for this particular kind of a cause, because I just think that there are so many more productive ways to address something like this,
With that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
We'll be right back.
What if I told you you'd never have to make a house payment again? What if you could pay off much-needed home repairs and even create an income stream based on the value of your home? If you're 62 years old or older, you could be eligible for a reverse mortgage. Call Tim Harrison and find out if a reverse mortgage is right for you. Call Tim at 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475. Tim Harrison, branch manager, NMLS number 170960. Broadview Mortgage Corporation is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. License number 170952. Registered with the Nationwide Mortgage Licensing System and registry number 813B544. Broadview Mortgage, equal housing lender. Remember, if you never want to make a house payment again, except for property taxes, maintenance, and insurance, that's 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475.
Locals in Loma Linda and Redlands all know and love the Family Homestyle Cafe, the home of the world's largest pancakes and the delicious mouth-watering food cooked up daily by their well-trained chefs. Sizzling thick-cut bacon, ham, and hand-pressed sausage. They take pride in the best quality, great economical values, with better portions served up with the pride of local ownership and great service. Near the corner of Anderson and Redlands Boulevard in Loma Linda, if you haven't tried out Chef Mark's Delights, you haven't had some of the best food in the area. And now, Chef Mark is upgrading his cafe and offering space for on-site gatherings, luncheons, and parties. Add a DJ for a great holiday party or luncheon, and you've got a no-fuss event with all the bells and whistles. Call Mark today at 909-478-9996. That's 909-478-9996. Or stop by the Homestyle Cafe in Loma Linda at Anderson and Redlands Boulevard.
Hi, everybody. Ray Lucia here with some important information about debt, your debt. Whether you have a first or second mortgage, you're looking to buy or refi a home or rental property, or just need to consolidate your credit cards to lower your payments and save some serious interest, you need to do some loan financial planning with Steve Aladort, my mortgage man, at loanfinancialplanner.com. Now, Steve's not your garden variety mortgage broker. He actually spends time evaluating how you can use the current super competitive interest rates to pay off your mortgage early, purchase a rental property, improve your cash flow, upgrade to your dream home, or even help your kids or grandkids get into a house. That's what loan financial planning is all about. Steve's been helping me and my listeners for over 2 decades, and I can tell you he is the best finance guy in the business. Go to loanfinancialplanner.com. That's loanfinancialplanner.com.
Or call Steve Aladort at 888-563-1070. That's 888-563-1070.
This segment of programming sponsored by Cybertime Network Communications. How's your internet? Slower than what you were paying for? Feeling boxed in with the high cost of the internet? It can be frustrating and expensive, and with net neutrality coming, it's not getting any easier. Ready for a better high-speed internet service? Then you're ready for Cybertime. And they're local and right in your own backyard. Cybertime provides connectivity for all our transmissions you're listening to at KCAA. Cybertime is locally owned and will respond to your needs with the best service. It's crisp, cool, fast, and sleek. Cybertime uses the latest, leading-edge microwave technology to be able to offer clients a safe, reliable, public or private network that fits almost any budget size. Numerous local city agencies rely on Cybertime's microwave private network for their most critical mission applications. You should too. Get connected, stay connected, get smart, get Cybertime. You can Google, text, or call Cybertime Network Communications at 909-795-9559. Cybertime Network Communications in Calamasa.
The Inland Empire's radio home for the Dave Ramsey Show.
If you want to mess around with the Bitcoin thing and you're in that world a little bit, that's fine. But don't put your freaking life savings in it, doofus.
KCAAradio.com.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Want to remind everybody all the ways you can follow Tobin and me. I am Erin Hunt Brinker on Facebook. I am at Erin Songbird on Twitter, and Erin Brinker on Instagram. He is Tobin Brinker on everything.
That's right. I keep it simple.
Well, I did. Okay, you do. When when I signed on to Twitter, everybody was, I wanted Aaron Songbird. That was my moniker. I've used it many times. I like to sing, and so that's what I use, and it's been years and years. And I'm actually not that active on Twitter, to be perfectly honest. Everything that I post on Facebook rolls over to Twitter, but I don't, it may take me a while to respond to people, which doesn't really work on social media.
Yeah, I'm not super active on anything other than Facebook, but I am active on Facebook.
Yes, you are. So here is maybe why some of this new news, maybe why the self-immolating attorney self-immolated. So the dying Gulf Stream, and we're not talking about an RV, may trigger a global nightmare. Scientists say climate change is playing a role. Scientists are raising alarm bells after 2 studies found that the Gulf Stream, an ocean current key to regulating Earth's climate, is the weakest it's been in 1,600 years. Okay, history teacher, what happened 1,600 years ago?
The Little Ice Age. But here's the thing. I don't know that they've been measuring it. They have not been measuring it for 1,600 years. This is based on modeling. And so I don't know how accurate these studies are. I always hate when people come up with stuff like this. Oh, we've created a model that suggests this is what's happening, but they don't really have the hard data to prove it.
So the culprit is apparently melting sea ice and glaciers, which inject fresh water into the North Atlantic and weaken the stream. Fiddling with the Gulf Stream is very dangerous because you may well trigger some surprises, says climate scientist Stefan Rahmstorff. I wish I knew where this critical tipping point is, but that is unfortunately just what we don't know. If the stream dies, scientists say, its equatorial heat could stop reaching the North Atlantic, plunging Europe into bone-numbing winters and affecting weather worldwide. Even subtler changes could wreak havoc on the Atlantic Ocean's delicate ecosystems. Wouldn't it be ironic, after all of this mass migration into Europe from the south, then is reversed and there's mass migration from Europe, from the north to the south, into Africa from the north?
That would be funny and wild.
It'd be wild. The studies differ in approach and timeline, but both say the Gulf Stream has diminished by about 15%. One study spotted it by measuring sediment on the ocean floor and says the problem began when the Little Ice Age subsided around 1850. The other, which analyzed sea surface temperatures combined with advanced climate simulations, says the decline started around 50 years ago. But both see human-influenced climate change as a cause. Well, if it started in 1850, when did the Industrial Revolution really get underway?
About 40 years after that is when they really kicked it up. Is when they were really producing, all the coal
and burning coal. I mean, because that's really what fossil fuel did they have at that point? It was coal.
Yeah.
All right. So with Greenland's huge ice cap melting at a historic rate, some say the Paris Climate Agreement is our only hope. If we can keep the temperature to rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius, as agreed in the Paris Agreement, I think we can run a small risk of crossing this collapse tipping point. But he said he doesn't know where the tipping point is.
Yeah, I know. This is all just like, magic and wishful thinking. It really is, in my opinion. Yes, the climate is changing. Yeah, there are things that are going different, and we may be experiencing another ice age in the north, and it may be because of the weakening of this particular Gulf Stream. But they don't have the data that they say they have. What they have is models, and they have a lot of I don't know. It's not the kind of hard science that they are putting it out there to be, in my opinion. And so I'm doubtful. I'm a skeptic. Count me a skeptic.
You're a climate change denier.
I don't deny that the climate is changing. I'm a skeptic as to the reasons why, and that these guys think that these guys actually know, and that their science is actually solid. I don't believe a lot of the science is very solid on this.
It is definitely happening, and you think what climate, and let's talk about that. What climate change has done over the centuries, especially in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
When it got colder, what happened?
You have migration. I mean, this is the normal thing that happens. And, people will abandon places that are no longer viable for a variety of reasons, and they'll move to new locations. And this happens in history, and to act like, the idea is that they believe that humans caused all this, and now we can somehow stop it and control it so that we won't ever have to migrate or change the way that we live our lives, except that we have to change the way we live our lives to stop this from happening. I don't know. It's just, it's ridiculous. It's going to happen, weather happens, and we're going to adjust and deal. Right?
Yeah, we'll have to.
Yeah.
What happens when it gets colder, commerce slows down, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you have fewer people, there's smaller families, right? I mean, because I vaguely remember, and you're the history teacher, that's why I'm asking you. I vaguely remember that, when things started to warm in Europe, you had the Renaissance, you had baby booms, you had all of these things, lots of commerce picked up, everything became, more vibrant when the climate warmed after this period of cooling.
Yeah, and there are other things too. You also have different types of diseases that grow and spread in different in different climates. There's all kinds of things that happen because of this, and you just have to adjust, So, I've got some sad news. Uh-oh.
R. Lee Ermey, the Full Metal Jacket sergeant, and the guy who did the Geico commercials, he's the drill sergeant.
He's funny.
He passed away at 74.
That's young.
It is young. It is young. So R. Lee, I keep wanting to call him F. Lee, like F. Lee Bailey. R. Lee Ermey, a real-life military veteran who turned maggots into Marines in Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, died Sunday morning from complications from pneumonia, according to a statement from his longtime manager posted to the actor's official Twitter account. He was 74. He carved a place into cinema history with his memorable portrayal of a foul-mouthed gunnery sergeant Hartman in Kubrick's 1987 Vietnam War drama. He would go on to play, at that date's not right, Full Metal Jacket, I guess it was 87, would go on to play tough-as-nails authority figures from coaches to colonels to sheriffs and generals over a nearly four-decade career in film and television. But his most recognizable turn by far remained the drill instructor hammering new U.S. Marine Corps recruits Joker, Matthew Modine, and Pyle, Vincent D'Onofrio, into battle-ready soldiers in Full Metal Jacket, a role punctuated by indelible and highly profane quotes that earned him Golden Globe nominations for Best Supporting Actor, which would be the reason why we're not playing them on the air. Because, he was great. He really was. He typified what you'd expect a Marine drill sergeant to sound like.
But every role he played was that character. And they were always profane. And he was like this sort of in-your-face tough guy, Yeah,
but he played it well.
He did.
There's lots of people. Jack Black always plays Jack Black.
Yes.
There are characters who always just play themselves, and he was one of them.
Yes.
And I'm sure he was paid well for it.
Hey, more power to him. I enjoyed him and everything he did. I actually am thinking of, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but he did some comedy movies where he played roles like that, right? And the same thing.
So. Yeah, he apparently was, he was born Ronald Lee Ermey in Kansas in 1944. He enlisted at the age of 17 and spent 11 years in the Marine Corps, receiving a post-retirement honorary promotion to gunnery sergeant in 2002. According to his official website, Ermey spent 2 years whipping new recruits into shape as a drill instructor at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego before being deployed in 1968 to Vietnam, where he spent 14 months, and he served 2 tours in Okinawa. So he earned the right to do what he did. His service experience helped inform his on-screen work in Full Metal Jacket, remembered as a rare instance in which Kubrick entertained improvisation on his sets. So, yeah. And of course his last role was in a Geico commercial. I have a vague recollection of him calling somebody a jackwagon. So with that, let's take a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
This is a special report from NBC News Radio. I'm Lisa Carter. A new development this morning in the aftermath of that chemical weapons attack in Syria.
The chemical weapons inspectors who were due to begin work at the site of that poison gas attack that killed dozens of civilians are being denied access by Russia and Syria. That's according to the organization's chief and to diplomats.
NBC's Bill Neely reports the U.S. envoy says Russians are at the site and may have tampered with the evidence to thwart the fact-finding investigation. And the U.S. expected to follow up weekend airstrikes on Syria with a new round of economic sanctions on Russia today. The sanctions aimed at pressuring Russia to back off its support for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's chemical attacks on civilians and opposition forces. Russia is signaling it will retaliate against the sanctions with restrictions or bans on certain U.S. imports. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
It's time for traffic on KCAA. I'm Erin Brinker. In Corona, there is completely stopped traffic on the 91 westbound between the 15 and Lincoln. So it's not a very long distance, but it's completely stopped. And looks like the delay is about 18 minutes. In Riverside, on the 215 northbound at Central Avenue, a conked-out big rig is in the right lane. There's some stop-and-go traffic from Alessandro. This has been your traffic report on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. I'm Erin Brinker. This report is brought to you by MGM Resorts. Did you know MGMResorts.com has rooms in Las Vegas starting at just $39 a night? You do now. Book today at MGMResorts.com.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Alvin Washington. Partly sunny and windy this morning, a high of 64. Slight chance of showers tonight. Wind still windy. Look for a low of 44. Sunshine, calmer winds on Tuesday, a high of 72. Mostly clear Tuesday night, a low of 47. Sunny and 76 on Wednesday. I'm Alvin Washington, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA 102.3 FM Riverside, 106.5 FM Redlands, and The Legacy, 1050 AM Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Hey, this is Gary Garver. You know, I've been having trouble getting a good night's sleep lately. Maybe you have too. Well, if you have been, South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out. South Pacific Sleep Lab provides a personal study to help you find out how to get a great night of sleep. I've been having sleeping issues during the night lately for a number of reasons. South Pacific Sleep Lab evaluated me with an overnight study of my sleep pattern. With their professional staff, they were able to provide me with a diagnosis of my sleep pattern, and ever since, I haven't had much of a problem getting a great night of sleep. South Pacific Sleep Lab has locations throughout Southern California, including one in Fontana, and they will provide transportation to any of their locations at no cost to you. South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just give them a call at 844-SAD-5050 to schedule your appointment today. That's 844-SAD-5050.
Join me, Stephanie Miller, every weekday for the antidote to cantankerous conservatives. And if they don't like it, too bad. It's on KCAA.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8.
1050 AM and 106.5 FM.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So we have been talking about this drop retirement program that's been implemented in Los Angeles. And as we predicted, as anybody would predict, the firefighters and police are absolutely rushing to become members of this.
Yeah, so the LA Times did an article back in February on the DROP program, which stands for Deferred Retirement Option Plan. And this program is really fascinating. The idea was you allow people to retire and begin collecting their retirement, but then stay on the job, but they're no longer earning retirement credits. And this was a way to get people to work a few extra years because they could make some additional money. They were getting paid their retirement money plus getting paid their salary, so getting double pay, right, to get them to stick around for a couple extra years because they had too many people retiring and they needed to keep people working. And so that was the idea of the program. And they said that it wasn't going to cost them money because they're saving money because the people will take less by retiring early and they're no longer getting service credit, so their overall, whatever is going to be smaller. And that was the idea. Well, what they found out is that a whole bunch of people went into this retirement program and then immediately went on to disability. So they weren't actually working, right? They weren't actually working, so they still had to hire people to do the jobs that these people were supposed to do because they're not actually working. They're on disability, but they're getting double the pay, right? So they're getting their retirement pay and their disability pay. And so the LA Times brought all of this data forward and showed basically how this was costing the city a fortune, and tried, and the LA City Council sort of had a committee meeting about it, and all of that focus on this program caused a giant increase, a major spike in people to sign up. So let me give you some of the data points here. So almost half of the participants who entered DROP from July 2008 to July 2017 ended up going on leave soon after entering the program, so going on some sort of disability leave. Their average absence was 10 months, while hundreds of them stayed out for more than a year with bad backs, sore knees, other ailments, and that afflict aging bodies regardless of profession. And these are for police officers and firefighters, and they do physical work, and this is kind of normal stuff. But in February, they had this surge, and the surge was 129 people that signed up for the program. Now, normally, they have 25 new members sign up in a month.
Oh, my goodness.
So they had 129 in February, and they have this chart that goes all the way back to the beginning, and literally the February surge is as high as when this program first started. So when you first start, you get kind of a rush of people to sign up in the beginning. That's the kind of numbers that we're looking at. And it's because all these people were afraid the program was going to go away, so they wanted to get in before they lost this benefit, right? So they could be grandfathered in.
So again, this taxpayer is paying now extra for people to not be working.
Yes.
And they still don't have people on the streets.
Yes.
So the taxpayer's getting hosed.
Yeah. Now, in 2016, the city administrative officer recommended eliminating the program because it was no longer a necessary tool for retention and that it had never been cost effective. But he added that there'd be a surge of people into the program once word got out that it was in its final days. Yeah, can you imagine? And that's exactly what's happened. And so they still have the program, though. They haven't gotten rid of it because at this point, politically, and all of these elected officials
they get their money from the unions.
They do.
So why would they get rid of a program that the unions like?
Exactly. The police and fire unions, this is big money in the campaigns. And so, they don't want to get rid of this because they know that this is going to, they'll find someone to run against you if you get rid of a program like this. This is sweet. This is a sweet program.
The thing that's so frustrating about this is that the taxpayer who's just going to work and doesn't have time to pay attention to everything that City Hall is doing is once again on the hook. And if you've been around Los Angeles, it's the same as every other city in Southern California. There are potholes everywhere. There are not enough police officers.
Yeah.
It's just...
So
we're not getting the service that we need to get.
Here's another data point that it blows the mind away here. Okay, so far the program has distributed more than $1.6 billion in early pension payments. On average, participants who left DROP in 2016 walked away with an extra $434,000. So if you signed up for this program, you're going to put almost $500,000 into your pocket.
Wow.
That's what they're getting because they're getting their retirement and their pay. And again, a lot of the pay is for people that aren't actually working because they go out on disability.
And let's talk about the retirement. As you know, because you saw it as a city council member.
Yeah.
Retirement is often spiked by overtime, by all kinds of things, and so this is higher than their salary. So you can't look at their base salary, and to determine what their retirement's going to be. You have to look at what they've actually worked. I mean, am I wrong?
No, you got it right. Now, one of the things that the LA Times did that I think is just beautiful is they actually found out of the names of individuals that were in the program and did some in-depth reporting on them. And some of the specific cases that they highlight will just boggle your mind. So here's one of the cases. Among the cases highlighted in the Times investigation were a firefighter who took injury leave for a bad back and knees, but kept working his second job as a longshoreman.
Wait, what?
Yes. So he had a second job as a longshoreman. So he's on disability leave as a firefighter, right? So he's getting his retirement pay from firefighting, he's getting his disability pay from firefighting, and he's working as a longshoreman. Okay? Yes. And he was on disability
because that's a desk job.
Yes. Now, here's another one. A married couple, a police captain and a detective, who both filed claims for carpal tunnel syndrome and other cumulative injuries and then took 2 years off. 2 years off spending some of that time starting a family business and vacationing at their condo in Cabo San Lucas. This couple collected just shy of $2 million for their time and drop.
Oh, my God.
$2 million.
How is that not fraud?
I know.
How is that not fraud? I mean, these people should be prosecuted.
I agree.
I mean, this is a theft of public funds.
I agree. And they're going to probably give their sob story. Oh, I worked for 30 years in the
but who cares? You
put
still
my life on the line.
Except that you stole public funds. You were compensated for those whatever many years on the job.
Yeah.
You got paid, right? That's
Yeah.
a job that you wanted. And let's be honest, the firefighters. There's a line of people who want to be firefighters. Why firefighter pay? It continues to go up and up and up and up when there's so many people who want to be firefighters.
So here's the thing. You ask about fraud. In a television interview about drop, days after the Times story was published, L.A. Mayor Garcetti touted the LAPD's unit that's dedicated to investigating fraud by fellow officers and other city employees. He said that there were cases in the works, adding, "You'll hear probably in the next month about some of those prosecutions moving forward." Since then, there has been one arrest. Terry Johns, 56, had retired from the LAPD for 2 years when police took him into custody on March 8th on a felony warrant for workers' compensation fraud. After 32 years on the force, he retired as a police officer too, one of the lowest ranks in the department. Johns entered drop in July of 2014 and filed for a claim for a bad back the next month, the public records show. At the news conference announcing his arrest in March, Chief Beck said internal affairs investigators had observed Johns engaging in activity inconsistent with his claimed injuries, but refused to offer further details.
So they did get him.
They did get one guy.
They got one guy.
They got one guy.
Now they need to go after this couple.
I know, right? I mean, and LA Times is really doing the research for them. I mean, they just hand it over and say, okay, here's one, go get them. Here's another one, go get them.
I don't begrudge a couple going in, like if they're, you can retire young as a police officer.
Yeah.
You retire when you're 50, 55. And then, what do you do for the rest of your life? If you start a business that has you sitting behind a desk, that's one thing. But the guy who's a longshoreman,
yeah,
without knowing what their job was, but the guy who was a longshoreman, come on. You're too injured to be a firefighter, but you can be a longshoreman?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, no, I agree. So this is one of those stories. We're going to hear more about this. I suspect we're going to see a lot more people being rounded up and arrested. And I am just still shocked that they have not gotten rid of this program yet. And I suspect you're going to start to hear voters and other people speaking up and saying, hey, this thing kind of needs to go away, because it really doesn't fit in with what good public service is about. This is the kind of gift of funds that really should be illegal,
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have our guest that is on the line for our 6:50 interview, but we're going to go ahead and move that up. Let's go to a break right now. I'm Erin Breaker.
And I'm Tobin Breaker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
This is Scientific American's 60-Second Science. I'm Jason Goldman. As animals grow, the sounds they make change. But some sounds continue to change even after an animal matures. That's true for humans, and now it turns out to be true for North Atlantic right whales, too. A member of the baleen family of whales, the endangered North Atlantic right whales spend most of their time along the eastern coast of North America, from Canada's Bay of Fundy south to Florida. Syracuse University biologist Holly Root Guttridge analyzed recordings of whale calls to see if researchers could use those sounds to identify individual whales. In an audio program on a computer screen, a call has a particular shape.
Staring at these calls all day, I started to notice they were changing. And then we looked a little bit harder at the data and realized that they weren't just changing from being a little tiny baby to being a fair-sized adult, but that they kept changing over time.
Root Guttridge and her colleagues rounded up 17 years' worth of whale recordings. In all, they gathered nearly 1,000 calls from 49 individual whales between the ages of 1 month and 37 years. Like many other animals, the calls of the infants were both shorter and less structured than those of the adults. Mature whales produced calls that were clearer, longer, and more structurally complex. But the researchers also found that the calls continued to develop long after the whales reached sexual and physical maturity.
Instead of just changing from the age of 0 to 15 when they're pretty much full grown, they kept changing after the age of 15 and just kept going throughout their whole lives. compared to, say, a bird where usually they get to their full-grown state and then they don't change these calls.
The results were published in the journal Animal Behavior.
Well, it means that instead of just having a completely instinctive reaction where they always make the same call in response to the same stimuli, a reflex basically, that the whales are capable of changing what they're calling and how they're communicating, which means that they may be thinking about what they call.
In other words, understanding the calls of North Atlantic right whales might shed some light on the minds of North Atlantic right whales. In the meantime, scientists announced recently that they did not observe any newly born North Atlantic right whales this year. Bad news for an already imperiled species. With luck, the work of biologists like Ruth Guttridge might offer insights that help us as we try to help them survive. Thanks for listening. For Scientific American's 60-Second Science, I'm Jason Goldman.
Disney on Ice presents Frozen.
Elsa? Do you want to build a snowman?
All the adventure, all the moments. Join Anna, Elsa, Olaf, and your Disney favorites when Disney on Ice presents Frozen, the show worth melting for. Tickets start at $20. Restrictions and additional charges may apply. Coming to Long Beach Arena April 19th through 22nd and Citizens Business Bank Arena April 26th through 29th. Visit Ticketmaster.com for details.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email CEO@kcaaradio.com.
KCAA, where every day is a great day.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So pleased to welcome to the show Mrs. Patricia Ward Kelly. So we've all heard of Gene Kelly. Legendary dancer, director, and choreographer Gene Kelly brought astonishing grace and athleticism to the movies. His engaging on-screen personality is so accessible we feel like we know him. In fact, we know very little. In this unique live one-woman show that has been described as mesmerizing, Patricia Ward Kelly, his wife and biographer, gives us the story, taking audiences behind the screen. She presents an intimate portrait of the innovative artist who gave us such iconic works as An American in Paris and Singing in the Rain. Using brilliant film clips, previously unreleased audio recordings, and personal keepsakes and stories he shared with her over their decade together, Patricia Kelly guides us on an unforgettable journey into the life and heart of a man who changed the look of dance on film and became one of the world's most beloved stars. The show runs about 140 minutes, and it's being done in partnership with the San Bernardino Symphony. Mrs. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a delight to be with you.
So tell us about your show and how you decided to create this.
Well, actually, it started back in 2012, which would have been Gene's 100th birthday, and it was created. I decided to create it for the Academy of Motion Pictures. They usually had some kind of tribute to the legends, and I wanted people to understand the many, many dimensions of Gene. People see him up on the screen and they love him, but there's so much to him that people don't know, and particularly things about his work behind the camera as a director and choreographer, and really for changing the whole look of dance on film. And so I kind of describe it as that you get in a little boat with me and I take you on this journey that really takes you into his creative process and also into the heart of this man. I always say he was a true romantic. He was the kind of guy who would wake you up in the middle of the night just to go out on the balcony to see the full moon. And I think it's important for people to have a sense of him as a man, not just as this really talented guy up on the screen.
Wow. So we've all seen his movies, and what always struck me about him is that he exudes optimism. Was he like that off screen as well?
Yes, I think that would fit. He was a man of just tremendous integrity and humility, and I think he grew up in the Depression, and that was really what propelled the type of dancing that he created. That he wanted to dance like the common man. He wanted to dance not like rich people on polished floors in white tie and tails, but really like a guys he knew, and he had to create an art form to fit that. But I think he always kind of rooted for the underdog. He rooted for the guy who was kind of out a bit, and I think we feel that now. I think that's something that we really look to now, particularly someone with this kind of graciousness and brightness. I mean, he just had this immense mind, and as I say, I think the integrity is really important as well. And as you say, optimism. He said that the point of what he was doing was to bring joy, and I think we could use a lot of that right now.
Yes, we could. Now, the Entertainment Tonight has called your show truly personal, a rarity. Hollywood Reporter said it's endearingly entertaining. Sony Pictures said one of a kind, out of this world event, and the accolades are innumerable. So you've brought it to San Bernardino. What can people expect when they come?
Well, I think that's another good question, because I think people do kind of wonder. They think, well, Gene Kelly's wife, what is she, 110 years old? And they will find that I am not. And I do greet people as they come into the theater. I always say it's not really a show. It's really more of an experience, and it begins once they enter the door. And I stay after to greet people after, because what's so interesting to me, everyone has a story to share. Everyone has some experience either as a child or with their parents, their grandparents, or their young dancers. I mean, there's really no demographic for the show. It's half men and half women attending, and I always say it's every age from 7 to 97 or 107, and everything in between. Because Gene is really cool. He's really hot. He's really relevant. I think part of it is that he was so far ahead of his time in the work that he did that he just continues to be the go-to guy for so many people. And so I think people coming in, what I hear is people leave the theater. I often hear things like, we loved him before, but we love him even more now. I think they like to hear about the things that he studied and the way that he created things and why and what moved him, and so I think they come out with just a much fuller sense of this tremendously talented man.
So you've talked about some of the work that he did behind screen, and I had no idea. Now, I figured that he probably was a choreographer because he was such an incredibly talented dancer. Can you talk about some of the work that he did behind the screen, behind the scenes?
Well, and you do see that. That's one of the things, because a lot of people will come up to me and they'll say, oh, did he ever choreograph anything, or did he ever direct? And what you're seeing on screen, he created. And so I thought it was important, and that was really how he wished to be remembered. He said, I'd like to be remembered for changing the look of dance on film and for creating a particularly American style of dance. And so I think it's important, and one of the things that I focus on are the real revolutionary innovations, the things that when he's performing with himself essentially in a double image, and that came out in 1944. I mean, this was way ahead of computers and what would be very easy to do and accomplish today, relatively easy then. It was extremely difficult at the time, and so people will come away with a better understanding of how the camera worked, how he actually moved the camera and timed it to the music so that he was able to accomplish these extraordinary things. I think people look at the movies and they kind of take it for granted that it's up there on the screen, and by coming to the show, you'll not only enjoy it up on a big screen as it was meant to be seen, but you'll also understand how it got there, and sometimes how tricky it was to get there.
Wow. So the show is this coming weekend, correct?
Yes, on Saturday night at the Sturgis Theater.
Well, that is wonderful. I can't wait to see it. So it's going to be a terrific event. People can get tickets. Go to the San Bernardino Symphony website, which is sanbernardinosymphony.org. You are not going to want to miss it. Should they come a little early and mix and mingle?
That would be great because, as I say, I'm out there an hour before the curtain just greeting people in the lobby. So please come up and say hello. And it's really, I'm really honored that the San Bernardino Symphony chose to present this show because it is, I think they understood the value in it, and that you get to see this man who worked with composers and musicians and arrangers, and so they are behind all of this. And so I really do encourage people to come out. You may not know quite what you're getting into, but I think you'll leave the theater with a smile on your face.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Patricia Ward Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today. Can't wait for the show on Saturday night.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So, yeah, Tobin, that sounds like a blast.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes, one more. There's so many good things going on this spring. Lots of things going. Our daughter actually, her bridal shower is in the morning on the 21st, and so that's going to be a big day for us. I want to go see this.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a busy day, but this would be a must-go-to event.
Now, you sent me something, Tobin, didn't you?
I don't think I sent.
Okay, I imagined that you sent me something.
I did click on the button for you to. Approve me so I could actually get the background information on our last guest because it was blocked. And so that's probably what popped up. So
that's professional planning here on radio. Sorry, sweetheart.
That's okay. Yeah, you did a great interview, and I was searching all kinds of stuff online trying to find out who we were talking to and what was going on so I could keep up with you.
That was a little notice that I got. I'm like, why are you sending me something now? This is a peek into our married life, ladies and gentlemen.
So the story we have to talk about, just briefly, because we didn't either of us watch the actual interview, was James Comey, right, who gave his big thing last night, was on television. And a lot of people are talking about it.
He's out there selling his book.
But you found an article that I thought was fascinating, which is that former Attorney General Loretta Lynch released a statement slamming former FBI Director James Comey just hours before his blockbuster interview with ABC News' George Stephanopoulos. And so I thought that was fascinating. Of course, Lynch is a Democrat. And part of the plan that the Trumpies, the Republicans, are using is to discredit Comey by using the Democrats as the tool to do that. To say, see, they think he's slimy and that he's no good, and that proves it because if the left and the right all agree that he's slimy, no good, he must be slimy and no good, right? And they've got their talking points out there.
He's putting himself out there. And I've heard this argument before. He's putting himself out there as if he is the arbiter of all things good and true. If that were true, then he would have waited. He wouldn't have waited until his book was published. Before he let these truths be known, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. But we're all that fired up and important. He would have said it 3 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting to me is that a lot of the stuff and I didn't see the interview, but a lot of the stuff that's getting published or talked about aren't really what I would call fact points, where he can say this happened on this day and it proves this point. Instead, it's the opinion points. It's I don't think this president is morally fit to lead. Okay. That's an opinion. Okay, I kind of share the same opinion, but that's not based on facts or anything special to your job. I think anyone watching the presidency could have came to those same conclusions. So I mean, it's just fascinating to me that I was expecting to see more facts.
I agree, and let that be the last word. I'm Erin Breaker.
And I'm Tobin Breaker.
And this one's for you, James Comey. It's the Smiths. Big Mouth strikes again. Have a great day, everybody.